Yeah. You know what time it is, baby. It's to talk about dog bites. One of our favorite topics. We already have people texting in. And folks, if you want to chime in on the conversation, you're always welcome. 312-981-7200 is the number you can call or text in with your dog bite stories, or if you have questions legally. Attorney Brian Salvi is here in studio. Hey, Brian, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, the harem of women is great. You come prepared.
Well, you bring the dog, obviously, to this kind of discussion.
And I would say something about it be so inappropriate. But what are female dogs?
Oh, well, I think you know that. I think the listeners out there know it as well.
Anyway, so a texter already wrote in and said, I've been bit by someone else's dog twice in the last 6 months. Look forward to hearing this segment. That sounds like they're prepping for a lawsuit, Brian, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, a lot of factors go into, whether or not we have what we would call a viable lawsuit. And so, just based off of that little snippet, if you've been bit twice and you haven't contacted an attorney, my automatic assumption is that it's probably not that bad, maybe just a little nick, because...
But what deems bad, though? What if it's traumatic for me? Like, for instance, when I was a kid, I had this German Shepherd named Lady who was super sweet, and I didn't know. I was like 7 years old. I went to go take the dog's bone, and boom, it bit me right on the eyebrow. Like, that was pretty serious.
Okay, so at the time, you're talking about a facial scar, a facial injury. Did you have to go to the ER and get any stitches or anything like that?
I got, a bunch of stitches over my eye.
Oh, you should have contacted an attorney back then.
I couldn't have sued my parents. That would have sucked. They would have been unhappy about that.
Yeah, probably, but,
But in retrospect, I should have sued those two.
Yeah, maybe. You would have been able to get some compensation, that's for sure.
Right. So you say here each year that more than 4.5 million people in the United States are bitten by dogs.
Yeah, it's just one of those unfortunate things that really can't be avoided based on the simple fact that, we're dealing with animals, right?
Right.
When, you walk up to a dog and you pull on its tail, it's automatically going to turn around and it's not going to like that. So, when you're dealing with animals, and I understand they're obviously domesticated, a lot of dogs can be very smart and sweet and friendly, but at the end of the day, they're an animal with instincts, and sometimes those instincts take over and they hurt people.
Yeah. Even if they're trained, though, sometimes that happens.
Absolutely. I will say the vast majority of the calls that I get for victims of a dog bite do come with certain breeds. Off the top of your head, I'm sure the obvious one is pit bulls. And
yeah, but that's such a misconception, though.
Is it?
Yeah. Yes, it is the predominant dog. But my family have raised for generations pit bulls, and they're like the sweetest dogs. Big, scary, big teeth, big jaws, the whole nine. But sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I completely understand, the kind of old phrase of bad dogs aren't born, they're made, right?
I agree with that.
And that makes sense, and I agree with it generally as well. But at the end of the day, I can't ignore the type of phone calls I get, right?
Yeah.
And the I would say 70% plus.
So this is your specialty?
Well, we deal with all kinds of personal injury, medical malpractice, whether somebody gets hurt by negligence of a doctor at a hospital or a car accident, things like that. But we do get a lot of dog bite cases, and those dog bite cases tend to fall on my desk, yeah.
Okay. And what kind of compensation give me some stories, and obviously you can't name names.
Sure.
But run some scenarios here. If somebody's out there listening who got seriously bitten, what is their legal standing?
Yeah. So well, let me put it out this the basis for liability in a dog attack. When you're the victim of a dog attack, you basically have to prove three things. One, the person that you're filing a claim against or pursuing a lawsuit against is the actual owner, or at the time had control of the dog. So like if you leave your dog with a neighbor and they assume control and then the dog bites somebody, that neighbor might be on the hook for that if they had control.
Crap, man. That's crap.
Well, that's what you get when you assume control. So that's step one. The step two.
Well, what if it's so innocent, though, to be like, well, I'm going to the grocery store, Susan. Can you watch my, Rottweiler for 10 minutes? And all of a sudden that Rottweiler breaks free and chomps on the neighbor's arm.
If the neighbor is the person who says, yes, I can take care of them, yes, I have the ability to control them, and then they don't, then yeah, it's kind of getting behind the wheel of your neighbor's car if yours is in the shop or something.
That makes me never want to watch anybody's dog.
Sure. I
now that you put it that way, don't ask me, folks. I don't want to watch your dog.
I understand that. So then the second aspect is the victim had to be conducting themselves peaceably in a place they had a lawful right to be. Okay,
so, and not antagonizing the dog.
And the last one is exactly right, provocation. So you can't do anything that is deemed to provoke the attack that ultimately happens. And so as long as you fit those three criteria, you have what would be a viable lawsuit in the state of Illinois. Now, other states, it's not the same thing. Other states have a lot of what's called a one-bite rule, which basically means the dog bites somebody, and now the owners are on notice that their dog has a propensity to do that sort of thing. So now they're on notice, and the next time the dog does it, they're in trouble. Not in Illinois. Illinois does a really nice job of protecting victims. Because when you think about it, it really does make sense. If you have a dog, if you have an animal that you are in control of, you are entirely responsible of it, and it harms somebody else, then, and that person has damages, whether it's, the pain and suffering from the attack itself, a scar that's going to be there for the rest of their life, somebody needs to be held responsible for that, and that's the dog owner. So Illinois does a good job of protecting victims.
Wow, we're running out of time here, but I want to say, for people listening, if they've been thinking about it, it happened, how can they get a hold of you, and what is the first steps they should take?
Yeah. So, the first steps really should be making sure you contact an attorney to understand, really how strong a lawsuit might be.
Because you're not like ambulance chasers or dog.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's the furthest thing for what we do. You see some guys, attorneys out there who do commercials and things like that, and it really does us, the reputable firms a disservice when they do that. And but when someone is a victim of a dog attack, call an attorney, try to understand, your rights, make a kind of mental note of the situation, how it happened, what was going on, what you were doing, so that you can relay this reliable information to your attorney so he can best guide you.
It's similar like an auto accident, take pictures if you can.
Sure, right? Take pictures, absolutely. And I kind of never answered the question you mentioned when we're talking about compensation. It really varies, but I can tell you, just some obvious things that factor into it. So, for instance, a facial scar is worth more than a scar on your leg. A scar to a young woman in her teens or something like that. That's more valuable than an older gentleman who's in his 60s who has a scar. There are a lot of variables that go into it, and I will say the nature of the attack.
Got it.
So, if it's a bite, catch, release, quick, it happened in 3 seconds, and now you've got a couple marks on your arm, that's a very different scenario than if you have a big, say like 60, 70, 80-pound dog who latches onto your leg.
Drags you down the block.
Doesn't let go, and then, kind of lets go, then comes back, and I've seen all the scenarios play out. Yeah.
Scary stuff. Brian Salvi, attorney, how do we get a hold of you?
Well, you can contact us. Our phone number for the law firm, Salvi, Shostak, and Pritchard, that number is 312-372-1227. Of course, you can find us online, and that's salvilaw.com.
Great. Brian, thank you so much, man. Have a good weekend.
Thanks
Enjoy the Memorial Day weekend.
I appreciate it.
All right, folks. We'll be right back with some more, Frank.